Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you. I'm glad to take your phone calls and your emails at 866-HEY-LARS. That's 866-439-5277. During this coronavirus outbreak, it's easy to forget that there are a lot of other things going on outside. Well, the federal government is not exactly known for being transparent, but when they're fighting an invisible enemy, the government seems to have become about as transparent as mud. And the guy who tries to wade through all that mud on a regular basis before and I'm sure after the coronavirus epidemic is over is Judicial Watch President Tom Fitton, who joins me now. Hey, Tom, welcome back to the program.
Well, it's good to be with you. Thank you.
It sounds like the agencies that, correct me if I'm wrong, are already difficult to deal with in prying loose information that is laughably called public information have decided to use this coronavirus epidemic time as an excuse for becoming even more difficult about releasing information to organizations like Judicial Watch.
Yes, for instance, the FBI, which is notorious, Lars, for either ignoring or slow-rolling documents, told us a few weeks ago through a court proceeding that their FOIA office is shut down at least till March 30th, and I can't imagine they're opening it now. So no FOIAs, no transparency. The law requires transparency, but they consider it non-mission critical work, and so we won't hear or know anything the FBI is doing until this crisis lifts, evidently.
All right, and now give my audience a little background on this because, Tom, I've been working at home remotely for the last 4 weeks. So has almost all of my crew but one. He has to go to the studio by himself, but he's safe. But we do this electronically because we have some amazing tools these days. They're not all that amazing, but it's laptop computers, desktop computers, special ways of sending audio. Most of what the FBI complies with, correct me if I'm wrong, when it releases documents to you it doesn't have to be paper documents, and it can be transmitted electronically. So why is it that the FOIA office, which stands for Freedom of Information Act, I've used them myself in years gone by, why is it they can't continue to be transparent? And if they run up against a roadblock and say we don't have electronic copies of these records and we can't access them without somebody physically going to the physical files and retrieving them, you would understand that. But they're saying they won't even take electronic requests from Judicial Watch, right?
Yeah, I think it's the Justice Department generally now is they can only take mail requests and not physical requests. So they get the either the FBI or DOJ, I forget which one. But the point is they've raised basically incredible hurdles to getting information during this crisis. And this is the most important period of time for government transparency. The government's bigger than ever. Yet this dramatic expansion of the government resources and power. And we won't be able to get any of our questions answered for the foreseeable future, at least from the FBI. And there's got to be a way of following the law. I would suggest that the FBI consider transparency to be mission critical and deploy resources appropriately. They're an essential business, and essential businesses are supposed to operate and do their work within reason. And it seems to me FOIA shutting it down completely is not within reason.
All right, Tom, help me understand this, though. I would have guessed that President Trump would have been a president that would have said, I want the public to know what's going on in its government. And is there any way that we can shortcut this by having the administration itself give some direction to those agencies? I mean, after all, he is the chief executive for the United States of America, and say, we don't need to drag this out, spend a lot of money on lawyers and court cases and everything else. Where possible, make these public records accessible to the public, whether it's to Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch or 100 other advocacy groups that go out and look for information. Is it not possible to get any action that way from either William Barr or from Donald Trump?
Oh, certainly. The president can order the agencies directly to continue to follow and try to provide FOIA responses, and certainly Attorney General Barr, Director Wray can similarly step in. And it's an agency-by-agency issue, generally speaking. Not all the agencies have shut down. A few have said things were going to be slower. Others have stopped completely. But as I say, the FBI is a particularly sensitive agency, and the idea that there'll be no transparency out of a law enforcement agency is something that we shouldn't abide by.
I mean, because I'm trying to imagine there are people whose full-time job at these federal agencies, sometimes more than one, their full-time job is supplying FOIA requests. So these people are sitting at home, not doing anything, but still collecting a federal check and not supplying the information that is their 100% full-time job.
Yeah, it's not clear. Some of them have been sent home. A limited number of managers are permitted to work in the office. And what the FBI is saying generally is that this work requires a secret enclave in which to work, and they obviously can't do that from home. So they should, in my view, go to work and do it, or have the managers do the work as best as they're able if they have a reduced workforce in light of the coronavirus crisis.
Well, yeah, if they have a reduced workforce, doesn't it become even easier for those people to go into work, stay socially distant from everybody else, sit in your own little cubicle, and then obtain the information that's being requested so the public can know what their government is up to?
Yes, it does. And this is, something that we're having to contend with across other agencies and that other Americans are having to contend with. And, my concern is that you've got people, in this case specifically, that the FBI announced this to us. It was about Bruce Orr, whose wife Nellie worked for Fusion GPS. Bruce Orr was a DOJ official working with the Fusion GPS gang to push the spy op against President Trump. But we've got other FBI requests about Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, James Comey, Andrew McCabe, the whole gang, all of whom are now protected from this FBI silence. And look, today we have this DOJ IG report confirming the whole FBI FISA operation can't be trusted and is completely compromised. So all of our requests about that compromise is going to be held up as well.
That doesn't make any sense. Tom Fitton from Judicial Watch. Tom, we very much appreciate your time, and thanks so much for coming on the show tonight.